how much of what he teaches in his writings did you implement when you were coaching basketball?
Oh, everything I could. I mean, all the way from, the socks that you put on first and make sure you don't have any wrinkles in them,
Mhm.
to, um, it's not just how much you practice, it's how you practice. Lessons learned, maybe another would be the tension that exists in all things worthwhile.
Mhm.
When you're leading, there's great sacrifice and there's great reward.
Mhm.
And there's a tension between those 2 things. Lessons learned, maybe another would be the tension that exists in all things worthwhile.
Mhm.
When you're leading, there's great sacrifice and there's great reward.
Mhm.
And there's a tension between those 2 things. Like, I'm there right now, and I swear it got me through the week. Or I would be at a Thunder game, or I would be at church, or wherever I was. Someone that week, 5 or 6 times, different people said, "This mattered. It changed my approach. It maybe who knows? Maybe it's changed my life."
Did you know there's a technology that's actually an app on your phone that uses sound waves to tell your brain what you want your brain to do? We had a young man that was on a guest on our podcast, the Mike Litton Experience, who had a traumatic brain injury. He was sleeping 3 hours a night. He's using NewCalm now and he's sleeping more. Go to newcalm.com, Mike15 promo code. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. Mike is passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
Sherri Coale, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. And by the way, Boomer Sooner, baby.
You know what? You just can't make this stuff up.
There's
You
no
show up
way. There's no
you show
way.
up wearing that logo, and I'm like, "Wait, what? How does this happen?" 6 degrees of separation, my friend.
Seriously, you have Mo Anderson endorsing your book. One of my favorite people in the world, bar none, as I told you. So, like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So, with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go up to today, and then we want to talk about the compost pile. We need to figure. I have to ask you when we get there where that name came from, but we'll get there. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. So, the beginning,
The beginning. So where were you born?
Hilton, Oklahoma, tiny little oil field town, just north of the Red River, southern
Mhm.
Oklahoma.
And it's
Um,
Healdton, right? It has a D in there, right?
it does, but yeah, you say it Hilton, and people always think that I'm saying Hilton
Right,
with
right,
a southern accent, but I'm
right.
not. It's
It's the
Healt.
Oklahoman in me, right?
Right. So, a fantastic little place to be from. As a matter of fact, the final story in the compost file is an open letter to the town of Healton. And the title of the story is A Great Place to Be From. And
Yeah,
it was. I had a magical childhood.
yeah. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead. The compost, I can't,
Okay.
what? How did you
Okay.
come up with that title?
So for years, while I was coaching basketball at the University of Oklahoma, I kept a folder on my laptop computer. Up in the corner was a file folder that I labeled compost. And in it, I threw things that if I read something that challenged me, I cut and paste, toss it in there. If I read something that um, inspired me, something that really moved me, I put it in there. If I wrote a paragraph that I didn't have time to do anything with, I threw it in there. Sometimes I'd be on the treadmill after practice and think of a sentence that's just described my point guard, and I'd
Mhm.
throw it in the compost file. Everything just went into that file. And from it grew a lot of the blogs that I've written now for 4 years. Every Tuesday, I have a blog that comes out. It's free. It's on my website. It's a subscription, a way of life, but it's free. And I write weekly, and it keeps me grounded in substance. And a lot of the thoughts that I've explored through my blog came from that folder. So I wrote a book called Rooted to Rise. After that book, I was working on another book about life through the eyes of a point guard that I'm still working on. But while I was working on that, I had a week of about 5 or 6 little God nudges where he just taps you on the shoulder. And somebody said, whether I was at Target, hey, that piece you wrote about an empty nest, like I'm there right now, and I swear it got me through the week. Or I would be at a Thunder game, or I would be at church, or wherever I was. Someone that week, 5 or 6 times, different people said, this mattered. It changed my approach. It maybe, who knows, maybe it's changed my life. It moved me and got me thinking. I haven't been able to quit thinking. And so I thought, okay, maybe I need to just compile a bunch of these blogs and put them in one binding together so that people have it and they can pull it from the shelf whenever they want to. They can dog ear it and they can highlight it. And so when I started to gather these various stories, which is what my blog is, I just knew that the title would be The Compost File. And when I asked, when the publisher asked me who it was for, I went through a whole list of people. Is it for women? Yes, but it's also for men. Is it for athletes? Yes, but it's also for coaches. Is it for parents? Yes, but it's also for anybody who has one. In other words, it's for all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
But it was for strivers. And so the subtitle is Stories for the Striver in Us All. And that's where the Compost File came from.
Well, it certainly got my attention. I mean, like,
I know.
what? Right?
Many times it's been called the Compost Pile. And I have to remind people there's a different consonant there.
Well, it's a place where you put things that you wanted to come back to. And I think that's really, really cool. It's almost like journaling, but sort of on steroids, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Really
it's not
cool.
just your own thoughts, it's a collection of other people's thoughts too. Lots of times I throw things in there that I didn't agree with at all.
Yeah.
And going back and reading through it and thinking through it would help me grow. And so that's why I called it compost.
Awesome. So in Hilton,
You said that so well.
I know. It's just terrible.
You've been
So in
practicing.
Hilton, did you grow up? When did you leave Hilton? What age were you?
When I graduated from high school in 1983, I left Hilton. I went to Oklahoma Christian College on a full basketball scholarship. I was the kid that fell in love with ball when I was in the 5th grade,
Yeah.
and never missed a day of working out and practicing from that point forward. And Hilton was the kind of town where my parents were divorced when I was very small, but they both lived in Hilton. They both went to all my basketball games, all my track meets, all my choir contests, all my school plays. They went to everything. My grandparents were there in that town. And then beyond that, your teachers raise you and your church family raises you. And you stop at the stop sign because if you don't, somebody's going to tell your mom because everybody knows everybody. I mean, that kind of town. And it was just a rich, wonderful, when I say rich, I mean, not financially rich. I mean, rich in spirit kind of town where everybody looked after everybody else and cared about everybody else. And it was a great place to be from.
I grew up in Oklahoma, as I told you. Well, we moved when I was 13, but my formative years, basically, when I was young, and that was the feeling I had growing up there. Was everybody watched out for everybody. And if you needed something, your neighbor was the first one to jump in and help. And I learned that from my grandfather. I grew up on his farm and I learned so much about how to take care of your neighbor and how to watch out for each other and be there. And, it's just a great place, just a really great place.
Speaking at I don't know, some sort of event, the year or two after I retired, and I was asked, I think it was the summer after I retired, and I was asked by a gentleman in the audience at the end. He stood up and it was Q&A time, and he said, I just want to know what made you think that you could go from being a high school basketball coach to being the head coach at the University of Oklahoma. And I was like, okay. I've been asked that, but not quite that directly before. And I appreciated the question because as I thought about it, what I decided was what made me think I could do that was the confidence that grew in me in Hilton, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because here's what happens there. Like I loved basketball. I was the best player on our team. I scored the most points, practiced all the time. Great. I ate it, drank it, slept it. Great. I also ran on the track team. I hated track. I hated it. I hated everything about it. But I ran it because my basketball coach told me that I needed to, because the
Mhm.
basketball coach was also the track coach. And I sang in the choir, and I started in school play,
Mhm.
and I painted fire hydrants when there was a contest for that in town,
Mhm.
and I made food for FOHA show. Everything. You did everything because there weren't enough people to go around.
Mhm.
And as a result of that, you learned how to be the star basketball player and maybe not the best singer in the choir. And you learned how to handle the roles. On the track team, I was good, but I wasn't the best. And
Mhm.
I got a feel for all those things when I left Healton to go to Oklahoma Christian to play basketball and go to college. I didn't think there was anything I couldn't do. I mean, I
Mhm.
just thought, well, I can do anything, whatever it is, I'll figure it out. If I don't know how, I'll figure it out. And that's because Healton gave you hard things.
Mhm.
They gave you hard things to do, and then they got out of the way and expected you to do them, and I feel incredibly blessed by that. Didn't know it was happening at the time, but when you look back, you go, "Yeah, that's where that's from."
What a foundation,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Okay. Growing up in Hilton, what was your favorite thing about growing up there?
Um, Probably the fact that, I could walk wherever I needed to go.
Mhm.
I could see my best friend, I could see my grandma, I could get to the gym, I could get to church, I could get wherever I needed or wanted to go, I could walk to get there. And when you walk to get someplace, you discover all kinds of things.
Mhm.
I think it taught me how to pay attention. I honestly do. I think that the pace of life there allowed me and encouraged me to pay attention.
You learn a lot.
No question.
You learn
No
a
question.
lot. I mean,
And you,
it's
as I said
if you're
earlier,
awake, right?
you
If
figure
you're paying attention, yeah.
you figure things out. You figure out how to solve problems and how to get from point A to point B. And when things are hard, you look around, there's no one else to do it for you. You have to make some decisions and figure it out. Very fortunate.
Who was the most influential person to you growing up?
Well, my granny was incredibly impactful in my life. That's my mom's mom. My immediate family, all very influential. My granny, probably not only because of her availability. My mom worked full time. My granny was
Mhm.
at home. Um, I'd walk home from school and granny would fix me lunch, and I would walk home after basketball practice and wait for my mom to pick me up. So granny's home was the hub. But then also she grew with me when I had my second child and had the opportunity to go to the University of Oklahoma. My grandmother moved to Norman and lived with us and was my live-in
Oh.
nanny for the first 12 years of my daughter's life until my granny passed. And so she was not only influential in my life when I was growing up, she was influential in my adult life and helping me care for my children. So she's a superstar angel, obviously. I
Yeah.
also had a remarkable basketball coach who was my fifth grade basketball coach. Her name was Mary Patton. And when I moved up to junior high, she moved up to be the junior high head coach. And then when I moved up to high school, she moved up to be the high school head coach. And so she taught English, which I also taught for a while before I went into collegiate coaching. She was married and had two kids, beautiful family, and she was just everything that I thought I wanted to be.
Mhm.
And I modeled myself in many ways after her. Um, she was tough but forgiving,
Mhm.
and had extremely high expectations, not just on the court but off as well. I also had a high school English teacher. Her name was Jolene Lewis. Her name is Jolene Lewis,
Mhm.
and she was incredibly influential in my writing and encouraging me to continue to. She always pushed me when I was writing papers and pushed me when I was discussing and thinking about literature. And she wrote in my senior yearbook that she expected to see a novel with my name across the bottom someday. In order for that to make sense to you in the way that it makes sense to me, you have to understand that I was a high school basketball player. I made good grades and all that stuff, but basketball, I was basketball. And I was going to college to play basketball and
Mhm.
I wanted to coach basketball. And the writing thing was something I did in class. I enjoyed it. Was pretty good at it, but it was not. I had no dreams of being a writer. She wrote that in my senior yearbook, and I thought, okay. And then I went to college to play basketball, and I came home one weekend for a football game, maybe a homecoming football game, and I came straight from practice, about a 2.5 hour drive, and still had all my sweats and everything from working out. And she's this little bitty woman. I'm not very big, but she's little compared to
Mhm.
me. And she saw me in the bleachers, and I went to hug her. And after I hugged her, she grabbed me by the shoulders and she said, "I know you're doing this basketball thing, but I still expect to see your name across the novel someday." And it stuck with me. And I laughed and, whatever. But I always knew how much it made me happy, how much I enjoyed it, and how it had the potential to affect people. And so I taught English for a while. I always wrote with my students when I had them write, which was often. I journaled. I got the head coaching job at the University of Oklahoma. I journaled. I had a very forward thinking SID uh, about 10 years into my career there who said, "I know you can write. I want you to write a journal online." And I'm like, "A journal online? What does that even mean?" Blogs weren't even a thing yet. Like, you don't even know what that was. And he said, "No, I just want you to write something once a month and we'll post it on our website." And so I did, and I loved it. I absolutely loved doing that. And I always knew that there were things I wanted to do besides coach basketball. I'm the girl that wishes she had 37 lives,
Mm.
and writing is something that I'd always wanted to do. So COVID comes around, we're all trapped in our houses. In those early days where, you're not even supposed to go outside, whatever. And I got a call from our associate athletic director who said the Oklahoma website, Soonersports.com, was getting more eyeballs than it had ever gotten in its life. And they had nothing to put on it because what Soonersports.com does is it's the platform for Oklahoma sports. Well, none of
Mhm.
us were playing.
Right.
All the games had been
There was
stopped.
nothing to report.
There was absolutely nothing. And they were running out of archived information and sort of panicking. What are we going to do? And he said, "Well, you just write something for the website." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Well, sure. What else am I going to do? I'm locked in my house."
Right.
And so I sat down and began to write. And I wrote an article called An Athlete's Ache. And I worked on it for 2, 3 days and polished it and spit shined it and threw pieces of paper away and crossed things out and started over and all those things that writers do. And stayed up late and got up early and wasn't tired. And when I finished it, I thought, this is what makes my heart sing.
Mhm.
And I'm at the 50-yard line in my life. And if I'm
Mhm.
going to do something other than be a college basketball coach, I probably better get about the business of doing it.
Mhm.
And so while I didn't call my athletic director that day, nor even tell my husband, I knew in my heart that I was ready to try to do something different. And so the following spring, I retired. I'm going to choose a different word. I evolved and stopped coaching basketball and started to write. And I'm having the time of my life.
Do you mind if I share something with you?
No.
I dearly loved reading your book, and I want you to know why. I want to acknowledge you for something. I read a lot of books. Some of them out of necessity because I have a show and I have authors on the show and all that kind of thing, right? Your reading your book was a lot like wearing an old pair of sweats. It was just comfortable.
Mm.
It's real. Like, I don't know how to explain it, and I was trying to figure out a way to actually say it. So I don't really know how to do it, except I can tell you this. Reading your book calmed me in a way that other books haven't. You have a style that's so unbelievably loving and welcoming. Like, you just bring people into your orbit, and it's a very comfortable place to be. And I'm probably being completely clumsy here, but I haven't figured out how to put it in words, right? It's just, and I know the sweats thing is probably, but it's, you understand what I mean, right? Like that pair of sweats that you put on when you come home and you want to just be comfortable and you just, right? That's what it feels like. It's like reading your book, and I hadn't read your other book, but reading this book, it's just comfortable. It's real, but it's also um, it's calming to it to in a way. I don't know how to I don't know how else to put it, but it's one you have a very cool style that's not
Thank you.
like anybody that I've ever read before, and I really like it.
That's a fantastic compliment. I really, really appreciate that. The only compliment that I've gotten that rivals that is my husband, who never ever reads a book. Like, I don't know if he's read one since college. I'm not sure how many he read while he was in college. He read it the day that it came in and said, "It sounds just like you're talking."
Yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, that's what I
Yeah. So you have a comfort in your own skin. Like you have a way about you, right? And I can get why your students followed you. I can get why your athletes followed, I get all that because you have a way about you that's just it's charismatic, but man, does it come through in your written word. It's just really cool. And I'm probably not saying it right, but it's just really neat. So I wanted you to know that.
I appreciate that so much. That means a ton to me. Thank you.
So so I know high school, and by the way, you already answered one of the questions we normally ask, which is, did you have a favorite teacher? Was English your favorite subject other than basketball
Oh,
in high
yes.
school?
Oh, for sure. I made A's in math, but it made me break out in hives. I didn't care about it. Didn't care anything about it, didn't see how it was gonna impact me moving forward, just made my way
How am I
through.
going to use this?
Exactly, like, then we had calculators. I have a calculator, why do I
Yeah,
need to know this?
yeah.
Um, but English, I was into. I had a ninth grade English teacher, and I tell a story about her in the first book, In Rooted to Rise. Um, she was a different sort, very different for Heelton, America. Just you're like, I remember thinking and probably talking about with my friends, how did she end up here? Like, why does she live here? She just was different than most of the people in our town. But she challenged me to read The Pearl, Steinbeck's The Pearl,
Mhm.
and go to a literature, like it was a competition, academic competition in the category of literature. And she put The Pearl on my desk, and I will never forget. It was an old used copy, paperback copy, and I started reading it, and I was like, I don't even know what this is about. I don't even
Mhm.
understand it. And by the time I got to the end of it, I was just hooked on not just the story, and I've never been particularly a fan of Steinbeck's writing, but on allegory and metaphor and all of the foreshadowing and all the things that all the literary tools that he used so beautifully and brilliantly. And that hooked me. And I was, the girl who went to the library, and I didn't go to the novels that had just been released. I went to the old classic stuff, and I wanted to read about it. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. When I was in the fifth grade, I'll take this even further. Those scholastic book orders, we're about the
Mhm.
same age, so you probably
Mhm.
remember them. It was
Yeah.
really fun when you got them in school and you got to go home and beg your mom, "Can I order something?" And she'd say, "You have $20 or whatever." And all my friends were ordering mysteries and comic books and
Mhm.
joke books. And I ordered They Call Me Coach by John Wooden. I was in the fifth grade.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to read about. And ironically, or I guess fortuitously, I had an opportunity to meet Coach Wooden, and I still had
Wow.
that book that I bought from Scholastic in the fifth grade and had him sign it. It's a beat up paperback, and it's one of my prized possessions. But so this urge to read began early, and it was fostered by teachers all the way through. None greater though than Jolene Lewis, my senior English teacher.
Awesome. So since you brought up John Wooden, who by the way, I think is the cat's meow, I'm a huge fan of his. How much of what he teaches in his writings did you implement when you were coaching basketball?
Oh, everything I could. I mean, all the way from, the socks that you put on first and make sure you don't have any wrinkles in them,
Mhm.
to, um, it's not just how much you practice, it's how you practice. he had all these little quotes because he was an English person too. He
Mhm.
loved literature. And so I would take all those quotes and pepper them throughout our locker room, our facilities. Sometimes we put them on t-shirts. It was a big part of the way I coached because I think Coach Wooden was, I would say that he was foundational, not just for basketball. He was certainly in the world of basketball a fundamentalist, and I considered myself a fundamentalist teacher as well. Like everything, unless you can dribble, pass, and catch, we're not doing anything else until you can dribble, pass, and catch, and then we'll work on shooting. But first, we better be able to dribble, pass, and catch. I mean, that
Well,
yes, yes,
dribble,
and
pass, and catch well.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's Wooden. That's straight from him. But I think he was foundational beyond the sport of basketball in that little things mattered. Touching the line every time mattered. Tucking your shirt in before you go to practice mattered. That was one of his that I kept all the way through every practice I ever coached. I mean, a player would come out without her shirt on. No, don't get a ball to, or not without her shirt on, without having her shirt tucked in.
Mhm.
And no, you don't get a ball until you've tucked your shirt in. I mean, that's just what we did. And so, in many ways, I know he did that for millions and millions of coaches outside of even the sport of basketball.
So here's a question for you. Why did he go to such great lengths and spend so much time teaching his players how to tie their shoes?
Because he knew that it starts with the most basic of things. Whether you're a successful basketball player or a successful entrepreneur or a successful boss or a successful father or mother or whatever, it starts with the most attention to detail and the most basic of things. And he was trying to build men. The championships were gravy. He was
Mhm.
really trying to build humans.
He was all about character. He was
Yes.
more about character than he was about skill. And the character got built first. The skill came, right, from practice and all that kind of thing. But the character was what mattered. And when the chips are down and when things are rough and you're in a championship game and you're down 20 points, right? Character matters. That's where you reach deep. He was the person who built that depth and then had it basically available when the chips were down and it was rough time. That's the thing to me that is the whole theme, the whole thread of everything that he taught was all about building up the individual, building their character, and getting them to a place to where they can make it through a war. When things are rough, you can make it through. I love everything about what he teaches and specifically how he taught it, you know.
And
So
it's applicable to everything, even far outside the boundaries of
yeah,
sport. What he taught was leadership. He
yeah,
taught people how to be.
absolutely. So you go after you graduate high school, you go full ride basketball scholarship to Oklahoma Christian College.
Mhm.
Number one, why Oklahoma Christian College? And number two, how did you feel when you found out that you were accepted and you had a full ride scholarship?
Well, I write a little bit about this in the book as well, but a lot of things had to happen for me to have that opportunity because I
Mhm,
was from a little bitty town, class 2A in southern Oklahoma. Not a lot of college exposure, not then anyway. We didn't have, certainly didn't have any of the technological capabilities that we have now, nor did we have summer circuits and
mhm,
talent competitions where coaches could come and watch you. Your team had to be good. If your
mhm,
team was really good and you got to the state tournament, then coaches would be there to watch and then you might get seen. And our team was really good and we made it to the state tournament. That's how I became an all-stater. And
mhm,
when I played in the all-state games, Max Dobson, the coach at Oklahoma Christian, watched me play and offered me a scholarship after that. So it was a group effort, I will say, because without one thing happening, the other wouldn't have. I was a member of the Church of Christ. I'm a member of the Church of Christ, and Oklahoma Christian is a Church of Christ affiliated school. It fit with my religious beliefs
mhm,
and the way I had been raised. It was a very, very high academic institution. It was a challenging place to get a degree.
mhm,
I was valedictorian in my high school class. I had solid ACT scores, and so It fit all those things. It fit who I was spiritually, it fit who I was intellectually or who I wanted to be, and fit who I was and wanted to be athletically. And so it was like the dream school. So when Coach Dobson offered me a scholarship, it was how fast can I sign the letter of intent? There was not a lot of second guessing or looking elsewhere after that offer came in. And I had offers before that and was just hoping, hoping and praying that you get that one. But it was an amazing experience to go to school there for a number of reasons. We were an NAI school,
Mhm.
and we were had a very good program. We're super competitive. There were lots of NAI schools in Oklahoma, so when we played, our gym was full.
Mhm.
And at that time, Division I schools didn't draw. They just didn't. Division I women's basketball programs. Tennessee and Texas were the only two you ever really heard about.
Mhm.
Everybody else had a handful of people who went to the games. So here, anyway, NAI was where it was. That's where it was happening.
Mhm.
People were fired up. It was a great atmosphere to play in. I had excellent coaching, amazing teammates, and I had a very rigorous academic track.
Mhm.
I didn't realize how strong it was until I finished up, and you start comparing notes with folks, and you go to graduate school and you go, this why is this so easy? And
Mhm.
other people are like, why is this so hard? And you're like, huh, something happened in those previous 4 years that made us look
Mhm.
at this differently. But I mostly met amazing people, amazing people, from my coaches, Max Dobson, Stephanie Finley, to our president and his wife, J. Terry and Marty Johnson, to my Shakespeare teacher, Dr. Daryl Tippins, Lynn McMillan. I can go down the list of people who imprinted me. You go to college and you think you know who you are, and you find out that you don't.
Mhm.
And you also discover that you get to decide.
Mhm.
And while I was deciding, I had all these remarkable role models around me to show me who I could be. And so I am eternally indebted to that school, that institution, where I'm now a member of the board of trustees, ironically. Um, it was just, I can't think of a better experience anywhere at any level.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about something that you wrote down. You ripped it out of a spiral notebook. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It had three things on it, and we're going to talk about specifically how you focused on that and delivered. We'll be right back. Did you know there's an app that has no side effects that allows you to use sound waves to tell your brain what you want it to do? It's called newcalm.com, and it's amazing. It literally uses sound waves. If you want to tell your brain to go to sleep, if you want to tell your brain to recover, if you want to tell your brain to put you in peak physical state, if you want to tell your brain to focus, if you want to tell your brain to take a power nap, you can do all of these things and more with newcalm.com. Go to newcalm.com today, promo code Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go there today. We're back with Sherri Coale, the author of The Compost Pile. I love that title, by the way. I love the title. So, so in your book, you talk about this list that you made of three things that you needed to accomplish. And you ripped it out of a spiral notebook and you put it up in your locker. And then when you moved lockers, you took it with you and you went to put it up in the next locker. Talk about what those three things were and how you went about accomplishing them.
Well, I don't know why. My family, I wasn't raised in a home where people said, go write your goals down.
Mhm.
I had great supportive parents, but we didn't do that kind of stuff. I don't know where I got the idea, but I got a spiral notebook and I wrote down number one, go to state.
Mhm.
Number two, be an all-stater. Number three, get a full ride. I wrote go to state because I was in love with basketball and no girls basketball team from Healdton High School had ever been to state. When I was a little girl, my grandparents used to take me to Oklahoma City. We called it the Big House. It was the state
Mhm.
fairgrounds in Oklahoma City for the high school basketball tournament. And I
Mhm.
was just enamored with it all. The pageantry of it, the teams would roll in on the buses with shoe polish and streamers, and they'd file in, and these huge crowds would watch them play. And that was a dream. I wanted to do that. I also wanted to be an all-stater, and Hilton had never produced a girls basketball all-stater. And I wanted to get a full ride. I didn't care particularly what level of college basketball I played. I just wanted to get a 4-year scholarship to play basketball, an opportunity to compete at the highest level that I could. And so I wrote them down on that piece of notebook paper and ripped it out of that spiral binder and lacy edges and all, taped it to the back of my royal blue locker. And every day when I would go to class, I would read it. Go to state, be an all-stater, get a full ride. It was right in front of me. And I'd get my books and go to first hour and come back and read it again. Go to state, be an all-stater, get a full ride. And I did it 7 times a day for an entire year in my freshman year. And then that piece of paper traveled with me to sophomore wing and my locker there, and junior hallway and my locker there, and then finally senior hallway. And by the time my senior year was there, it was yellow and taped up and a mess, but I kept the same piece of paper, taped it to the back of my locker. And what it did was it drove my decisions.
Mm.
You know, discipline is very simply remembering what you want.
Mhm.
And what that piece of paper did was it helped me not forget. So when my friends went out on Friday night, I came home at a decent hour because I was going to get up at crack of dawn and go to the gym on Saturday morning. And I did my homework on Saturday afternoon because on Sunday afternoon after church, I was going to the gym to get my shots up. During lunch, when people went to the Dairy Queen downtown, I brought a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and ate it in the gym so that I could make 200 free throws before afternoon classes began. None of that. I didn't have to waffle or redecide ever when any situations came up regarding what I would do because I had already decided what I wanted. And so it helped me remember. And in my senior year, we walked out the back of the building and got on a big yellow bus with shoe polish windows and blue and white streamers and Lady Bulldog goodie bags in every seat. And we rolled down around the front of the lawn, and the entire student body was out there, and the band was playing the fight song. And then we went down Main Street, and all the store owners were out on the sidewalks, and people from town were holding up signs that said "Go Dogs," and they had cowbells and the whole 9 yards. And the running joke was you could have stolen Hilton that day because everybody in town followed the yellow bus to Oklahoma City to watch their girls play ball. 2 weeks later, I got up at the crack of dawn and went to Mom's Mini Mart, which is like 7-Eleven today.
Mhm.
And I bought a Daily Oklahoman newspaper because that's how we got our news then.
Mhm.
Yes. Peeled it apart and found
Very carefully. You very
Yes.
carefully laid it
Yes.
on the ground and peeled it
Absolutely.
apart, right?
Found the sports section. Front page was Small West All-State Squad, my name, my picture.
Mhm.
And then a couple weeks later, I signed a letter of intent to attend Oklahoma Christian. So what's funny to me, as maybe not funny, haha, but funny, odd to me, or interesting to me, now that I'm older and I look back on it, is how much I thought I controlled.
Mhm.
I thought I'll decide these things and I'll do what's necessary, and these things will happen, which is part of the evidence of that confidence created there in the place where I grew up. But I never factored in all the stuff that could keep it from happening, over which I had no control. Had I sprained an ankle, had we missed a free throw, an opponent made a free throw, had there been a different call late in the fourth quarter of a game, there are so many things that could have happened that could have prevented us from going to the state tournament. And if we hadn't gone to the state tournament, I probably wouldn't be an all-stater.
Mhm.
If I wasn't an all-stater, I probably wouldn't have got a college scholarship to play at Oklahoma Christian. So as I look back on it, it reminds me of the power of happenstance, that there's so much that we cannot control. Lots of things happen and lots of things don't. And sometimes we're the recipient of some good fortune. But the greater takeaway is that when you remember what you want, you develop a system
Mhm.
for going through life, controlling the things that you can. It's a system that will not ever fail you. Whether you get what you want or not is
Mhm.
irrelevant. It's the process of being able to control the things that you can, and therefore exercise your power, your agency over your life.
It's the
So
striving part.
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's the exemplification of striving. This is what it looks like on a daily basis over a 4-year period. This is what striving looks like. And yeah, I got lucky. I got those 3 things. But the process of knowing how to make daily decisions that take me closer toward what I want and further away from what I don't want has helped in every single avenue of my life since then.
So you've heard faith without works is dead, right?
I've read that several times.
Okay. $64,000 question.
Uh-oh, that's a
And
lot
I
of
know
money.
this, I know, but $64,000 question. What three things are on the paper list that's up in front of you now that you look at every day?
Nudge people to think and feel, count your blessings, and bring the juice.
I love it. I love it. And you see it
Yeah,
every day.
every day. And I
So
have
do
a
you
little
mind if I share something with you?
go right ahead.
So go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I was
That's
just
your
gonna
thought.
say I have a pink Post-it on top of it because my Achilles heel is I don't always ask for help. And so the pink Post-it that I'm looking at right now says ask for help. And
Yeah.
that's on top of those things.
Yeah. I think that might be an Oklahoma thing. I don't do well asking for help either. I know exactly how you feel. So a few weeks ago, I was invited to speak to a public speaking class at their end of semester dinner that they do at Stanford University. And I've always wanted to I just loved I've always wanted to attend Stanford. Like I'm a big fan of Stanford. I've been there, spent time on the campus. I really like it. Actually, I love it. And I've always wanted to earn an MBA from Stanford. And I had an opportunity to go up there and actually speak to them. So I did. And my son and his girlfriend were able to come, and which was really cool. And I got there and they said, and when I got there, or before I got there, I thought I was going to have a few minutes to teach, that kind of thing, right? And they said, you've got 2 minutes. It's a toast. You have 2 minutes and you cannot go overtime. Going overtime is an absolute no-no here. Okay. So I got up and I told them, I said, listen, it takes me 30 minutes to introduce myself, and they've given me 2 minutes, right? But what I told them was, I said, listen, I try to add value everywhere I go. So I'm going to give you two things that are items of value that you can take with you tonight. Number one, if you ever have stage fright, love the people in the audience more than you love yourself, and the stage fright will go away. If you are committed to bringing the juice and delivering it to that audience more than you are about how you look doing it or how you love yourself, your stage fright will go away. Second thing is, take a word processor, and as large a font as you can. At the top of the page, write stay in curiosity. At the bottom, write stay out of judgment. Print it and tape it up wherever you work. So you're reminded every day that you need to stay in curiosity. You need to ask about the people around you. When you're on the phone with somebody, ask them where they're from. Ask them how they ended up in the business they're in. Ask, you with me? Because we don't do that anymore. We talk at people too much. We don't ask enough. And one of the instructors, who's a trial attorney, actually said afterwards, he said, I wrote that down and I'm using it every day. Like, that's cool. That's one of the things that I'm talking about, though, is when you have the right kind of focus, you put it up in front of you, right? The things you want to focus on, the things you want to deliver, like staying in curiosity and staying out of judgment, put it up and look at it every day. It's a big part of what drives your agenda and specifically where you're headed. I love it. Absolutely love it.
It's easy to forget what we really want.
It
It
absolutely
is.
is. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And if you put it up and you have to look at it, you stay focused and you remember, right? Like you did certain things, you studied when you were supposed to study because you could go, so you could go and get your reps in, get your practice in, that kind of thing, right? So that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's just that focus, that reminder is something that we all need. Okay. So thanks for letting me do that. I appreciate it. So let's talk about, you went to graduate school. Where did you go and why?
Well, I went to graduate school at the University of Oklahoma because I was the head basketball coach at Norman High School, which is where the University of Oklahoma is located. And at the time, I had no thoughts of coaching at the collegiate level. It had not even crossed my mind. But I was in a college town, and why not try to get your master's, because it allows you to make a little bit more money as a high school teacher and coach. And so why not? So I got my master's, while I was pregnant with my first child. And matter of fact, I think I missed the final and had to come back and make it up because I gave birth and had to come back and make up the final afterwards. So it was just a good time. I think I thought about it before and thought, once I have this baby, I'm not going to want to go to college. So I'll go to night school right now. And I knocked
Get
it
it
out.
out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So what was your favorite thing about attending University of Oklahoma and earning your master's degree?
Probably there's one course, and I won't get the title of the course right, but it was something about methodology at the secondary level. I got my degree in secondary administration,
Mhm.
but the teacher of the course was an adjunct professor who worked at for a school district just outside of the metro area, and she was unbelievable. She gave us very tactical, applicable projects, problems to solve, projects to be a part of, and we always had to work in teams. Everything that we did in that class was a team, a group, and I felt like that's when you're teaching at a public school or a private school, when you're teaching kids, you're a part of a community and you have to work with other people and you have to understand other disciplines and other personalities. And I thought it was maybe one of the most important classes about teacher education that I
Mhm.
ever had. And it was ironically, it was to be an administrator, to understand the different parts of leading a school, but it made me a better high school teacher at the time. And so we were in Norman, Oklahoma, and I'm on the campus at OU every evening after basketball practice. So, you drive across town and go to go to class. But I never really thought about working at the University of Oklahoma. I mean, it was cool. I grew up singing the fight song and holding one finger in the air, during the song before kickoff. Um, it was, and it always has been for my family, the flagship institution of Oklahoma. I mean, this is the place. But I was too busy. I was trying to get my master's degree and coach my basketball team and win championships and grade English papers and have a baby. And so the fact that I'm going to OU's campus every evening, nothing ever even crossed my mind that was anything special. And I know now, looking back, it was special opportunity, special place, obviously.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So after graduate school, you have the baby, right? After graduate school, you actually go out and win a couple of championships, a couple of state championships with Norman High School.
Yes, sir.
And then you're approached by Oklahoma University. I love this story. Tell this story real quick. I've heard it on an interview that you did, but tell this story for a second.
Well, actually, it was a group of business people from town who came into my locker room slash office, which was under the bleachers of the gym on the north end of the gym, an air conditioned little cubby hole where I lived. And these men came in and they said, "We think you ought to apply for that job at the University of Oklahoma." And I'm like, "It's 3:30 in the afternoon. Are you drunk? Like, what are we doing here?" I no, I'm pregnant. I'm 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And they said, "No, no, no, no. We think you're perfect time, perfect place." And I just basically said, "Thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored beyond belief, but no, thank you." And they came back a couple of weeks later and said, "We really want you to do this. We've actually talked to the people at Oklahoma, and you don't have to have had college experience, and they're accepting all applicants. We think you should just explore it." And so I did. I called the senior women's administrator and I said, "I just need you to tell me, like, if you're not seriously considering people with who don't have college coaching experience, I got stuff to do.
Yeah.
I got a really good team coming up and got this baby." And I had never really, it had never been a dream, which is kind of crazy because I was such a basketball head.
Mhm.
Kind of crazy because I was such a goal setter. We already talked about that. But in my mind, I had wanted to be a basketball coach and an English teacher, and I'd wanted to raise a family and not have a nomadic lifestyle, which many coaches do, especially college coaches. And I just couldn't imagine what in the world would be better than that. So it hadn't been on my radar, and I'd never really thought about it. So I filled out the application and went through the process, and it was a big interview and a group of people. And I remember I asked Gino Ariema, who I had developed a friendship with because he had recruited one of my players at Norman High School to go to Connecticut to play. I'd ask him what I needed to do in preparation. And he said, well, there'll be one person at least, and maybe more, in the room who don't want you to get the job.
Mhm.
Figure out who that is and convince them that you're the one for it and you'll get it. And I was like, that's interesting. It took me about 30 seconds to figure out who the individual was in the room that did not want me to get the job.
Mhm.
And so the interview was kind of fun to go through that process. And uh, they offered me the job, and I left, and I was walking down the hallway, and I remember wanting to run, but I
Mhm.
was 8.5 months pregnant. I mean, it was any day. And I remember holding onto my belly and kind of moving down the hallway quickly because we didn't have cell phones. You know, you're not just going to call my husband. You know, I needed to get home and tell him they've
Mhm.
offered me this job. I just took this job because I told
Mhm.
him, well, yeah, I'll be your coach. And I'm going down the hallway, and the associate athletic director, Larry Nafee, sticks his head out the doorway and he says, hey, coach, do you want to know what your salary is? And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And he said, how does 80 sound? And I said, $1,000 because I was making about 30 coaching high school. And he died laughing, and I drove like a maniac home to tell my husband, and we thought we had both died and gone to heaven.
Mhm.
And ironically, when I retired, Larry and his wife got me a Yeti mug that says $80,000 with a bunch of question marks on it.
I love that story.
It was,
Okay.
I'll tell you this, people have asked many times. I made a booklet that I passed out to the interview committee. The booklet wasn't about anything other than me trying to decide whether or not I could do the job. I had to figure that out before I could go interview.
Yeah.
And so in the booklet were all the things, the way I would network and how to answer the fact that I'd never recruited before, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've been asked, now everybody does that. At the time, nobody did that kind of thing. You know, what was in the booklet? What was in the booklet wasn't magic. The process of figuring out how I would actually do this job if given the opportunity
Mhm.
was the magic. That was the deal. But the reason I got to go from being a high school coach making $30,000 to being a major college coach who ended up with a great salary is I was at the right place at the right time doing the right things.
Mhm.
And if any of those three things had not occurred, my life would be completely different.
Mhm.
I was in Norman, Oklahoma. The people in this town knew that our games at Norman High School were standing room only. They knew that we were winning state championships. And I had 37 sophomores out for basketball the last year I coached there. Um, it was the thing to do for girls going through the Norman public school system. It's a big school, second largest in the state at the time. We're right here. They could not see what we were doing.
Mhm.
So they knew about me. It was the right time because women's basketball was
Mhm.
just taking off. So Connecticut had just won their first national championship. My first year at the University of Oklahoma was the first year of the Big 12 conference. So the old Southwest Conference had merged with the Big 8 conference.
Mhm.
So we go to our first conference meetings at the Broadmoor in Colorado. And around the table, Jody Conrad, Marcia Sharp, Sealberry, Marion Washington, Bill Finley, Paul Sandifer. I mean, wow, it's like
Yeah.
Mount, right? And they're all juiced because we're going to get 2 television games. Every school is going to get 2 televised games.
Mhm.
One at home, one on the road. Oh my gosh, women's basketball's exploding, right? Like it
Mhm.
was at the
Mhm.
time. And so I got right in on that. Salaries were good, but they weren't great by any stretch. And because the sport hadn't exploded yet.
Mhm.
So I was at the right place at the right time. And I was doing the right things because I had had an amazing collection of mentors that I had gleaned from through the years. And I ran my high school practice like a college practice. I ran my high school program like a college program. So I felt like I was ready. And any of those three don't happen, completely different story.
Absolutely. Well, you were the right person at the right time in the right job. I mean, that's another part of this, big part of this. Okay. The compost file. What are the top 3 things that you learned writing this book?
Oh, that's a really tough question, Mike. I will preface it by saying this. I began to write the blog, which is the Compost File is a collection of specific blogs pulled from years of writing that are lined up with in chapter themes and that have a through line. Some of them cut shorter, some of them added on to, etc. But the guts of them came from the blog. I started writing the blog because when I wrote my first book, Rooted to Rise, I sent it to a publisher, a literary agent, and I asked very simply in my email, is this anything? Because I had this collection of stories and I had no idea how to string them together or if anybody would even want to read them. And she sent back, it's definitely something. And neither one of us really knew what it was. And she said, I need for you to do 2 things. I need for you to get active on social media, and I need for you to write a blog so that your writing gets out there.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't get active on social media, but I did write a blog. I began writing a blog, and she wanted me to do that so that people could get familiar with my writing and my style, and I could kind of gather a following. That's why I started it.
Mhm.
But the reason I still do it 4 years later, it's completely free. I do it because it's become a forcing function
Mhm.
to help me continue digging in to a life of substance.
Mhm.
The college coaching world is full of superficiality. The world at large is full of superficiality. There's just so much stuff that doesn't really matter at all. It's all just dressing. And when I walked away from college coaching, I thought the one thing I want to be really intentional about is spending time in substance, not superficiality.
Yeah.
I want to get to the matter of things. It may be while I'm on a walk, what I'm paying attention to. It might be while I'm sitting in church listening to a sermon, what I pay attention to. In my relationships, I wanted to get to substance. And that blog, the fact that I have to publish every Tuesday, even though I don't have a boss and I don't get paid, I decided
Mhm.
I'm going to publish every Tuesday. It keeps me looking for substance.
Mhm.
And so by uh, I guess adjacently, that's one of the lessons I learned from the compost file is you look for what you find what you're looking for. I'm looking for substance and I find it all the time.
Mhm.
Every week I come up with something to write about because I'm paying attention and life gives us what we're looking for. Um, Lessons learned. Maybe another would be the tension that exists in all things worthwhile.
Mhm.
When you're leading, there's great sacrifice and there's great reward.
Mhm.
And there's a tension between those 2 things. When you're raising children, there are great challenges and there's great wisdom to be found and there's wonder everywhere. Um, there's euphoria in competition, there's heartbreak in competition. There all things of substance have this tension line.
Mhm.
And I think writing this helped me figure out how to balance better along that. I think that's what it's done for me, and hopefully when someone reads a story, that's part of what they take away is how to find the fulcrum.
Mind if I share something with you?
I would love for you to.
You might be one of the most authentic people I've ever met in my life,
Oh my goodness. What a kind thing.
and that's a big deal, especially in today's world. Like you said, there's so much superficiality out there. There's so much noise. There's so much sort of the same thing repackaged. That's not you, and that's not what the compost file is. Your writing is so and you period are just incredibly authentic, and it's exactly what resonates with people. And it's what resonated, I guarantee you, it's what resonated with your students. It's what has resonated with your children. It's what's resonated with your athletes that you've led over the years and taught. It's a big, big deal.
Thank you so much.
So, where can people get the compost file?
It's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Noble. It's in brick and mortar stores here in Oklahoma, and it's on my website. And if you would like for it to be personalized, you can purchase it through my website, and I will personalize it and ship it out to you.
Give us the website address.
It's really hard. SherriCoale.com.
Now it's Cole, it's Sherri, Sherri, and then
Yes.
it's Coale.com.
Yes. Yes,
So
sir.
let's do this again. So just for people, because we're both a video and an audio
Okay.
podcast, so there are people that are listening to this and they're probably driving or right. So it's SherriCoale.com, SherriCoale.com.
Yes, sir. And my blog can be accessed there. It's called A Way of Life. And then there's a book page that has directives to purchase either or both books.
This has been one of my favorite interviews ever. I
Oh,
cannot thank you enough for being here. Thank you for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience.
thank you. It's been wonderful to get to know you a little bit. And I've learned some things. I'm writing down Stay in Curiosity, Stay Out of Judgment. It's going to go on my desk too. So thank you for that. And thank you for wearing the interlocking logo. Good stuff.
That's it, baby. That's it.
Boomer.
Sooner, sooner. Can I ask you a question? Did you know that there's a technology that uses sound waves that'll tell your brain what to do? There literally is. It's called newcalm.com. It can tell your brain to heal, tell your brain to sleep, tell your brain to do all kinds of things. It can get you fired up. It can be a pre-workout. Newcalm.com. And the promo code is Mike15. Newcalm.com, promo code Mike15 for an extra 15% off. Go today.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at the Mike Litton Experience.